The Mystery of Flying Tiger Line, Flight 739, a vanishing act over the Pacific. On March 16, 1962, a Lockheed L-1048 Super Constellation, chartered by the U.S. military, vanished without a trace over the Pacific Ocean. On board were 93 U.S. Army Rangers, 11 civilian crew members, and 4 Vietnamese citizens, all en route to Vietnam on a classified mission. The flight never reached its destination, and not a single piece of wreckage or body has ever been found. More than 6 decades later, Flying Tiger Line Flight 739 remains one of the most baffling aviation disappearances in history, leaving behind unanswered questions, countless conspiracy theories, and families who still seek closure. A covert mission that never made it to Vietnam. The doomed flight was part of a highly classified operation at a pivotal moment in U.S. military involvement in Vietnam. At the time, President John F. Kennedy had significantly increased military aid to South Vietnam, though America's direct combat involvement was still years away. The elite Rangers on board were reportedly communications specialists, believed to be part of an early reconnaissance mission tied to the CIA and military intelligence. Some accounts suggest the president personally approved the mission, making their disappearance even more mysterious. Departing from Travis Air Force Base in California, Flight 739 made planned stops to refuel, first in Hawaii, then in Wake Island, and finally in Guam, before setting out toward the Philippines. It was during this leg that the aircraft vanished from radar. A flash in the sky, and then nothing. The last known sighting of Flight 739 came from a standard oil tanker, the SSTL Lenzen, which reported seeing a luminous explosion in the sky followed by a fading vapor trail. The tanker immediately altered course, searching the vast expanse of ocean where the explosion was seen, but no debris, oil slicks, or any sign of the aircraft were ever found. A massive search and rescue mission covering 200,000 square miles was launched, but it too yielded nothing. A rare occurrence for any aviation disaster, raising suspicions of foul play or classified cover-ups. Theories: sabotage, secret landing, or something else. With zero physical evidence, theories about what happened to Flight 739 range from mechanical failure to deliberate sabotage, and even the possibility that the plane was hijacked or secretly landed elsewhere. One international civil aviation organization, ICAO report, noted that while at Andersen Air Force Base in Guam, the aircraft was parked in a dimly lit and unguarded area, making sabotage a plausible theory. Could an unknown party have planted an explosive device on board? Another theory suggests that the flight landed at a secret location, and its passengers were taken as prisoners of war. The idea is not far-fetched considering the covert nature of their mission, and the U.S. government's refusal to declassify details about their disappearance. The lack of an official explanation has fueled speculation about CIA involvement, with some believing the aircraft was carrying sensitive intelligence personnel who were deliberately silenced to keep information from falling into the wrong hands. A haunting premonition and survivors left behind. Among those set to board, Flight 739 was U.S. Air Force veteran Anthony L. Wall, who was reassigned at the last minute. He later recalled that the soldiers were uncharacteristically solemn before departure, fully aware of the dangerous mission ahead. One particularly eerie story comes from Specialist Donald A. Sargent, who was just 19 years old. Before departing, he hugged his sister repeatedly, as if he knew he was never coming back. For the families left behind, the tragedy became even more painful due to the lack of official recognition. Since Flight 739 was technically not a combat mission, the fallen Rangers were not honored on the Vietnam Veterans Memorial in Washington, D.C. However, in 2021, Wreaths Across America dedicated a memorial in Columbia Falls, Maine, ensuring that these men were finally remembered for their sacrifice. The family's endless search for answers. More than 6 decades later, the relatives of those on board Flight 739 remain without closure. Amber Karen of Wreaths Across America describes how some family members never gave up hope, including the wife of one missing soldier who never moved from their home, believing that one day he might return. Another heartbreaking case is that of a soldier's son, who was an infant when his father disappeared. Now in his 60s, he has spent his entire life wondering what happened to the man he never got to know. Most of them assumed that their loved ones had been taken prisoner of war and would eventually return, Karen explained. It was devastating, and after all these years, they still don't have closure. Every year, on March 16th, the anniversary of the disappearance, surviving relatives gather to say the names of those lost, keeping their memory alive and pushing for declassification of information about the flight. One of the greatest aviation mysteries of all time. To this day, Flying Tiger Line Flight 739 remains one of the greatest unsolved aviation disappearances, predating even Malaysia Airlines, Flight MH370. Unlike other crashes where wreckage and black boxes provide some answers, this case remains a ghost story of the skies. A plane full of soldiers on a top-secret mission, simply erased from existence. As files related to John F. Kennedy's assassination continue to be declassified, many hope that documents about Flight 739 may eventually be released. Until then, it remains a haunting reminder of the sacrifices made in secrecy and the families left waiting for answers that may never come.